So we're joined from the City Hall of Hattiesburg, Mississippi, by the amazing Mayor Toby Barker. We thank you so much for taking some time for us today. This is our college and career readiness class here at Belmont Jackson High School, and we're recording this for all of our friends in Madison County Schools: Madison Central, Rosa Scott, Ridgeland High School, Germantown High School, the Academic Options Center, and our YouTube channel. And we're in the Government Career Cluster, and we thank you so much for taking some time out of your busy schedule for us today.
Hey, I'm glad to do it.
Now, just give us a little background. You're originally from Meridian, then went to USM, got multiple degrees at USM. But while you were at USM, because I was there with you and I remember, you were everywhere on campus. You were involved in so many great things, involved in SGA. You were a member of PICAP. You were in the BSU, playing intramurals. So many men of the men of excellence as well. So just involved in so many great things, building a network while you were there at USM. So just talk about that and why it's so important for kids that do go to college to understand the importance of building that network.
Yeah, well, I'll just say that I was an underperformer in high school and was not as involved as I probably should have been. And so for me, college was an opportunity to kind of start over and sort of write my own story and not simply be there to follow, I guess, the folks just do what everybody else does. I saw it as an opportunity to do something different and to be different. And so, like a lot of high school students, you have no idea what you want to do in life. And I applied, I think, 12 different schools. And I think when I started the process, Southern Miss was my last choice and ended up becoming the first choice as I visited. But I got to campus and, I knew that I wanted to kind of chart my own path. And so I ran for student government, residence hall senator, and won 17-14. It was a it was a nail biter. A lot of interest there. And then it just kind of took off from there. And into my freshman year, I ran for student body vice president and was lucky enough to win. My grades took a big hit, though, which is what I would advise your students to always go to class when you're in college. But no, it was I guess when you find a place that you really love, you want to be involved in making it better. And I think that's the thing I hope your students understand is that no matter how old you are, if you people can sense when you have a passion for something and they want to follow and they just so being all in is something I would certainly recommend no matter what you do.
Absolutely. And after you graduated, you were here in the Jackson area and as part of the state legislature for a few years, representing Central Hattiesburg as a member of the Republican Party. Now, in 2017, you made national headlines because there was a great article about you where it said Mayor Toby Barker, the growing trend of independent mayors in the U.S. because you were elected as an independent there in the city of Hattiesburg, and it has been so well received by the community because I think it's important for our kids to understand. And I mean, your record speaks for itself. The results speak for themselves. But people, when it comes to local government, they don't care about whose side you're on. They
Right.
want the job done, and you've done such a great job of that. So talk about some of the things in local government that I think kids may not understand affect them so much because you guys are paving the streets, you guys are taking care of the water, you're making sure the community's safe, you're building parks and recreations, providing programs for people. So you guys have a lot of hands in our day-to-day lives for people, and I don't think they really understand that.
Yeah, and I think for me it was if you're in the legislature, it's very hard to be effective or even to win a seat if you aren't with a party. And so I
Yeah,
certainly understand that. I think when you get to a local level, I think that's the government that affects people the most. And I think that
absolutely.
if you were to go up to someone on the street and their first question is, well, what party are you with? Well, depending on what party they are, they're instantly going, if you say the other party, they're instantly going to turn you off. And Hattiesburg is a very diverse city, not only demographically but politically. There's a lot of, I mean, a lot of age differences, and so running independent was a very freeing thing for me because I never was much of a party mantra guy.
Yeah, big
I
time.
believe in sort of the fiscal. fiscally conservative part of it and trying to keep taxes and regulation manageable, but I also believe that we shouldn't be patrolling what people do in their own personal lives. And so independent was a way to go for me. And then really it becomes your platform becomes, how do we make this city better? And it's all of those things that you mentioned. It's making sure that our finances are in order, but it also means that we provide good service, that when you call the water billing officer, you call the action line, someone is going to be pleasant on the phone, that people can see progress in their neighborhood. And we have 50 different neighborhoods in our city. And so one
Wow.
objective we have is to try and make sure that every neighborhood sees a little progress every year. And, garbage, getting picked up on time, streets getting paved, making sure that when you call for police or fire, they show up, but then also trying to tackle these more ambitious projects, whether it's, the new rec center that we're building right now at Tatum Park, or, the water park or splash pad or sidewalk. I mean, I
Yeah.
think people need to see progress on both fronts, because then, particularly if you communicate that well enough to people, they feel like they're on this journey with you, and morale across the city goes up.
Yeah, and as somebody that still spends a lot of time in Hattiesburg, there is no doubt about the high morale. That you look at all the small businesses there in downtown Hattiesburg. You got all the streets paved by the Sanger Theater. You're bringing in really big acts for people to enjoy, and I think that's what people need to understand is that your quality of life has a lot to do with your local government. And I tell this story all the time, and it just still blows my mind because I drive Ubering, and I enjoy meeting different people. And our mayor in Flowood, where I live, retired, Gary Rhodes, who'd been there for 20 something years. And I was just talking with this guy about an issue that was in the city. And I said, well, that's going to be something for the new mayor to handle. And this guy looked at me with a straight face and goes, well, who's the mayor? And he lived down the street. But then he told me, well, I kind of lost sleep over the presidential election. And I'm like, the president doesn't have anything to do with getting these streets fixed. So yeah, if you
Yeah.
want to, vote for president, that's fine. Vote for whoever you want. But when it comes to the things that affect you every day, like you said, to make sure when you call 911, somebody shows up, to make sure the businesses are paying their taxes and everything's up to code as far as safety in the city, that's going to be your local people, and that's the people you need to know about.
Yeah. And I think I think depending on what side you were on in November 24, I mean, you were either really happy or really mad. And my encouragement to our community was, find purpose in your local community, because
There you go.
I mean, every day the narrative nationally and even internationally now changes, and there's something new, some new distraction that I think part of it's all an act. But the question is, what can your students do both now and when they go into the workforce to make their community, the things they wake up to every day, their kids' schools, their kids' playgrounds? How can we make that better? How can we make sure that the streets are clean and the litter's picked up? And I think everybody has a hand in that. And so, for your students, that could mean, yes, getting your CDL and driving a truck, which is a very good paying job right now, I might add.
Yeah.
It may be working as a city planner, helping to figure out how the city should grow and what the regulation should be. It could be, a parks and recreation director. It could be, working in administration or working with federal programs that help housing. I mean, there's so many things to do at the local level to better the very place that you and your family wake up to every day.
Yeah, and I'm glad you mentioned that too, because that's what I want to talk about next. Is that obviously there's a lot of elected positions, and we've had our friend Judge Gay Polk Payton on this platform as well. But she even mentioned too, there's a lot of careers in the city government that have nothing to do with an election, but they are needed for the city to run. You have clerks, you have IT people, you have finance people, you have engineers, you have my good friend Sid Gonsolin over there doing construction projects. You have attorneys, so you have a lot of people that are needed in the trade area. You need people that are skilled in technology. You need people that are skilled in business, and all of these people are there at the city level government. And I mean, you guys have tons of listings out right now that are you need good skilled people that are willing to work.
Yeah. And I will say that there are about 50 people that the city absolutely depends on to run every day, and none of them are elected officials. And
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
our my chief administrative officer has been a city employee for 30 years, and she knows every little nuance of how the city runs, both legally, financially, what account you go to pay something, what are contractors in our local community that can deal with stuff. our accountants who are so vital in making sure the bills are paid and making sure that grants are documented properly. The people who work the action line, or people who get a call that somebody's sewer's backed up that can run the camera in the line. That we get the most compliments about animal control folks when there's a dog loose. I mean, there whatever someone's passion is, there's probably a job at the local level working for your local government to help deal with that problem.
Absolutely, and that's why, and even if you don't want to stay there forever, it's a great place to get experience. It'll build your network. You can get some great references because I think a lot of these companies would like to say, "Hey, they have experience with the city of Hattiesburg. This would be a great person for us to bring on our team."
And we've lost. I mean, and I say lost, like people have taken our folks, but they've gone on to better opportunities. Like, for example, we had a public information officer for our police department who did a great job. She was very good at content. She did video. She could do photos. She did very like clever posts, and she was picked up by the Chicago Police Department in December. And we're super
Wow,
happy for her because it makes Hattiesburg look good that we create that kind
absolutely.
of talent. Our last PIO went to the University of Tennessee at Knoxville doing all of their public safety, public information. We had a guy in our urban development department that was picked up as director of our deputy director of planning for the city of Mobile. I mean, there's just so many things that are there that people want to know that you can do good work and that you can work with people. And working in a local government will teach you to work with people.
Yeah, and before I get to their questions, I always thought it was so cool the way you communicate online because you do use social media, but you use it in such a positive way, and it's very clear on communication. You let everybody know about we're going to have these roads closed on these dates at these times. Make sure you if you need to go to work a different way, and but then you defend the city of Hattiesburg so much, and it is so cool to see because we all remember a couple years ago when the University of Tennessee came to play the Super Regional at Southern Miss, and their fans were complaining they don't even have an Applebee's in Hattiesburg. And you immediately got on there and you said, "Well, we're looking forward to having you in Hattiesburg. And no, we don't have an Applebee's, but we have so many locally owned restaurants that we would love to have you enjoy while you were here." I was just like, man, that was so professional. But at the same time, it also speaks volumes of the type of business development that has gone on under your watch in Hattiesburg.
Yeah, it's been a neat thing, and I have to give credit for that particular post to our former communications officer Samantha McCain, who was able to pull in some song lyrics and really just delivered a factual defense, but also in a clever way that also championed the local restaurants that we do have. And by the way, students, if the height of your culinary ambition is to have an Applebee's, we need to get you out more. But
I agree.
it was a fun series.
Absolutely. I hate the Eagles couldn't pull it out, but still great for the city. Anytime, and again, that's why having a good city government is so important. Because if you look at the all the things William Carey has going on, all the things Southern Miss has going on, it's bringing people to spend the nights in hotel rooms. It's bringing people then to spend money. And then on top of that, when they're spending the money, that's more money that you guys can use to improve your services and your infrastructure. So it really is a revolving wheel of things. As if one person's doing well, everybody can do well.
Yep.
Well, I do have some great questions here. I'll get to as many of these as I can. I love this first one. This is Kelsey Slaughter. She's in 10th grade, one of our volleyball players here at Velma Jackson. And she asked, did you receive a lot of backlash for leaving your party? And how did you deal with that when the press asked you about it?
Not really, Kelsey. I was never a follow the leader Republican. In terms of doing whatever they said, there were several bills that dealt with like uh, people, who were same-sex marriages and things like that, that my party tried to really go after, and I just think you ought to leave people alone.
Yeah,
And so I this things like that I was never really on board with. And again, there's no Republican or Democratic way to fix potholes or pave streets or
man, tell me
and
about it.
so it was not a hard decision, and while I think there are some long-term challenges it will create for me if there's ever anything beyond this, I also think that's where the majority of people my age and younger are, is that we don't
Absolutely.
follow institutions or parties, that we follow leaders because we see the value in it.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. I like this question. This is Alexander Harris. He's in ninth grade. And he asked, what was your biggest inspiration to run for mayor?
So, Alexander, for a while, I thought I was always going to just stay in the house because I love that process and loved the house. But, Hattiesburg was at a point in 2016, 2017, where we were very stuck. I mean, there was a lot of just infighting between council and mayor from, I guess, kind of an older generation that was holding the entire city back. And at
Yeah,
the same time, we were expecting our first child, and we had to ask ourselves kind of what kind of community we're going to raise her in. And it was a very I had never thought about doing it, but I'd fallen so in love with the city at that point that I knew something had to change and that maybe I had something to offer.
that's incredible. Yeah, and I agree. Mayor Dupree was there for forever, but at the same time, changes needed to be made, and you have to look at, like we said, quality of life. What type of area do you want to raise your kids in? And the city government, the effectiveness of that has a huge hand in that.
Well,
I
and the
like
neat
this.
thing about that, the neat thing about that is that it all comes full circle. That
Yeah,
Mayor Dupree is now Senator Dupree, who's my senator now
that's right.
in
I
the
forgot
state
about
senate.
that. Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's neat how our roles have changed, but we work very well together.
yeah, and yeah. I forgot that he was elected to that. That's really cool. I like this one. This is Corbin Smith. He's in 10th grade, wants to be an attorney. And he asked, what would be the most important skills I would need to master if I wanted to get into politics?
Hey, Corbin. So I think there's a couple things. One, you need to be able to communicate well, in terms of not only just public speaking, but interpersonal speaking. Making sure that you're a good listener and not just hearing people, but actually listening and being engaged, active listener. And a program that I went through as an undergraduate degree, not knowing I was going to go into this line of work, was I majored in communications, and there are a lot of classes on just small group communication, interpersonal communication. And then I think the second thing is just learning to be a good, passionate citizen who leads from the front. If there's a need out there, what can you and your friends do to go help meet that need? And the more you do that, the greater your affinity for the place you want to serve becomes. And so I think those two skills would be very, very necessary if you're going to go into public service.
Absolutely. I got time for two more. This is Shania Willis. She's in 10th grade, one of our basketball players, also on our track team. Really wants to join the military and serve our country, so she's got a lot of ability. But she asked, what has been the hardest part to you about being a mayor?
Sure, that's an easy one. There have been several times, Shania, that I have been called to places where someone has hurt someone or there has been a tragedy,
Mm,
and and if you get a text message in the middle of the night, it's probably not going to be anything good. And we live in a very broken world, and humanity is filled with broken people who sometimes do bad things. And whether it's a homicide or I remember about 5 years ago, we had a plane crash in Hattiesburg, and there was three people were on board, including a child my son's age, and there are things that you always remember about those circumstances and encounters and experiences that will always stick with you, whether it's you know how it looked or how, I mean, even down to smells. Like, it takes you back to those moments. And then just last year we had a student who was off for spring break and um, went into a fountain and was electrocuted. And like, I mean, that those kind of things where you feel responsible, just because it happened under your watch, that you're never ready for those calls or those experiences.
Yeah, and I don't know how you deal with that either. But at the same time, I think it's important to everybody to know Hattiesburg is an unbelievably safe city. It
Yeah.
really is, and it's obvious. I mean, you're gonna, like you said, you're gonna have bad people everywhere, unfortunately. But the safety of Hattiesburg is top notch if you look anywhere else in the state. So really, the
Yeah.
fire and police do an unbelievable job there, as well as working with the EMTs at over at the hospitals. All right. Got one more. This is Jaheim Reed, and he's one of our choir members here. He's in 10th grade, and I love this question. He asked, when you became mayor, did you ever think, wow, I'm really here?
No, not really. I think I was more excited about just getting to do this for my city. And I mean, there were moments where I had to kind of like sort of check and say, is this really happening? The first time I walked in the mayor's office, or the times that we've been able to announce some really big projects that even I thought were beyond uh, our reach. And I don't know, it's just kind of like you take the opportunity you're given, you go all in, and then the next opportunity will open up. And that's the one thing I would just leave with y'all is that you don't have to begin with the it's okay to begin with the end in mind. I want to do this one day, but really you just be all in where you are, and the next opportunity, the next door will open. And that's how it's been for me. Again, I didn't grow up here, and so the thought that somebody from South Meridian who came from a very middle class, struggling family, very mixed family, would somehow get to Hattiesburg, one of the most progressive cities in the state, and then get elected to the House, and then as mayor. It's I've there aren't many people who I consider luckier than me, and I'm very
Wow.
grateful for the opportunities I've been given, the people that have supported me over the years. It's just I couldn't have scripted it any better than it's turned out.
That's awesome. Well, we're almost out of time, and we thank you so much for fitting this in your schedule.
Oh
But a
yeah.
couple of quick things before we go. First of all, everybody needs to visit Hattiesburg. So many great things to do, so many great businesses. Come see the events, all types of new hotels, great parks, great programs going on. Or is there anything else you guys have on the horizon you can let us know about?
Well, I think the big thing that we're getting a lot of push for right now is that we are building a 120,000 square foot, $30 million recreation center at Tatum Park, and it'll be indoor.
Wow.
It'll be volleyball, basketball, pickleball, and just we're very excited about what that means for us. And then also just it seems every few months the downtown scene gets a little bit better, and I think I'm super excited about where we're going to be in 5 years.
Yeah, and like we said, great concerts and shows down there always going on at the Singer. But the last thing before we go is just every time I have an official on here, I always like to mention this because obviously none of our kids are old enough to vote. But when they turn 18, they are going to be legally allowed to vote in the state of Mississippi. And I have never in my life told anybody who to vote for. I'm not smart enough to give you the right advice, and I just don't think it's my place anyway. But however, they need to have themselves in a polling place voting for someone every time there's an election. Because, like we said, even if it's not the president, so many things in your life are affected by the people you put in office in your local area, whether it's your county supervisor, whether it's your state senator, whether it's your city council person, whether it's your mayor. Those are the people that you need to have a say in on how your life is affected. So, as these kids get ready to, transition to their next steps, they need to always be involved in the political process, not necessarily as an elected official, but as uh, a steady voter.
Yeah, it's as soon as you turn 18, go register to vote. And the thing I would encourage you is to never ever miss an election. Even if it's a party primary and you consider yourself independent, well, so many of your local elections are decided in primaries. So vote in all of them. And but never take an election off. I don't care if it's for constable or a special election for a judge. Always vote because it's going to make you pay attention. Since my daughter was 1 week old, that was during the 2016 presidential election, she has gone to the polling place with me and my son now too, because I just want them to know the value of it. And I want it to be an expectation for themselves that they always show up.
Yeah, because everybody's vote counts the same.
Yeah.
And but again, we thank you so much for fitting this in your schedule. One of the most effective mayors in the state of Mississippi, and just doing an amazing job down there in Hattiesburg. Mayor Toby Barker, the city of Hattiesburg. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Hey, it's great hanging out with you guys. Good luck to you.
All right, talk to you soon.